June 9th, 1912. It was a quiet Sunday night in Villisca. Church had just ended. The Moore family, Josiah, his wife Sarah, and their 4 children, walked home with 2 young guests, Lena and Ina Stillinger. The kids had performed in the church program that evening. Everyone was tired. It had been a long, good day. They reached the house just before 10 p.m. The oil lamps were lit, doors locked, curtains drawn. By morning, all 8 of them would be dead. 8 lives ended in silence. But what happened before the first scream? That never came. This was 1912, a time before television, before DNA, before 911. Most homes were lit by oil lamps. Doors weren't locked, not because people were careless, but because they didn't believe they had to be. Police officers were few. Most towns had a single marshal, maybe 2, and when something terrible happened, word traveled by telegram or train. Murders did happen, but not like this. An entire family, children, killed in their own beds. It didn't feel like crime. It felt like evil. The sun rose over Villisca, but the Moore house stayed dark. No one stepped outside. No chores were done. Mary Peckham, their neighbour, waited, then knocked again. Silence. She called Josiah's brother, Ross. He came with a spare key. When the door creaked open, the smell hit him first. Then he saw the girls, still, cold, gone. He didn't check the rest. He didn't need to. 8 people, murdered in the night. The Stillinger sisters, the Moore children, Josiah and Sarah. No screams, no witnesses, just an axe and silence. Word spread quickly, faster than any official could respond. By mid-morning, the house was surrounded by townspeople, some curious, some terrified. The marshal tried to keep order, but it was already too late. Dozens of people, maybe 100, had wandered through the house, touched the walls, looked into the bedrooms, left their footprints behind. The crime scene was destroyed before it was even documented. And yet, one thing was clear. The killer hadn't rushed. The mirrors had been covered with cloth, the faces of the victims hidden beneath sheets. Even the axe had been wiped clean and left leaning against the wall. Whoever did this took their time, and they walked out into the night without a trace. The murders stunned Villisca. People locked their doors, some for the first time in their lives. Parents kept their children home from school. Strangers were watched. Neighbors became suspects. Theories spread faster than facts. Some said it was personal. Others swore it had to be a madman. But there was one terrifying possibility no one wanted to say out loud. What if the killer wasn't done? What if they were still out there, watching, waiting, ready to strike again? The sheriff quickly contacted law enforcement agencies from surrounding counties. Investigators and journalists arrived from across Iowa. The town of Villisca, population just over 2,000, was suddenly national news. Reporters described a scene of confusion. No signs of forced entry. All doors locked from the inside. The weapon, an axe, taken from the family's own shed. Theories spread quickly. Some believed the killer had hidden in the attic before striking. Others suspected a stranger, maybe someone who slipped in during church hours. But nothing explained the level of violence. Josiah Moore had been struck dozens of times. Sarah Moore and the children were found in their beds, faces covered. The killer had moved room to room, methodically, silently, and disappeared without a trace. The first major suspect was Frank F. Jones, a wealthy Villisca businessman and former state senator. Jones had once employed Josiah Moore at his hardware store, but Moore left to start his own business and took key clients with him. There was bad blood, a rivalry. Some whispered that Jones had hired someone to take care of it. Then came Reverend George Kelly, a traveling preacher, an outsider, strange, unstable, and deeply religious. He had attended the same church event the Moores were at on the night of the murders. Weeks later, while riding a train, Kelly allegedly confessed to a fellow passenger. He was arrested, but soon released. 2 years later, he was arrested again. This time, he confessed to the police, but later claimed that the confession had been forced. His trial ended in a hung jury. In the retrial, he was acquitted. Reverend Kelly walked free, and no one else was ever brought to trial. No longer just a local mystery. Soon, reporters arrived from Chicago, St. Louis, even New York. The quiet town of Villisca turned into a media circus. The facts were unclear, but the headlines, sensational. Religious revenge. Family feud turns fatal. Killer may strike again. The murders became America's first true crime obsession. Police searched the house for days. They interviewed neighbors, called in outside experts, tracked down leads across the Midwest. But in the end, no conclusive evidence was ever found. No fingerprints, no eyewitnesses, no murder weapon that could be traced. And no one, not a single person, was ever convicted. More than a century later, modern investigators still debate what really happened in Villisca. Some say it was a drifter. Others still believe it was someone close to the family. New theories continue to emerge. New suspects, new timelines, new interpretations of old evidence. But the case remains unsolved, and what happened inside that house has never been fully explained. 8 lives taken in a single night, and not a shred of justice. No one was held accountable. No answers were ever confirmed. Only silence and questions. For Villisca, the murders weren't just a tragedy. They were a turning point. The town changed. The people changed. And the house still stands. A reminder of a story that was never finished.